Fortnite has so many game modes, it can be overwhelming sometimes, but I'm still gonna suggest they add one more. I think Fortnite desperately needs a story mode to allow players to re-experience the narrative of the game over the years, or for new players to see it all for the first time. I'm ADAMARU, hello there. Here's 7 reasons why Fortnite needs a story mode. I've played Fortnite from day one, and for years I've absolutely loved its storyline. It's disjointed, yeah, it's downright bad in places, but sometimes it's pure perfection. About a year ago, I decided to take a break from Fortnite and only dropped back in to see Chapter 6's live events, and honestly, I had no idea what was going on. And that leads me to my first point. How do players catch up on the story they've missed over the years? Well, there's 3 places to get this from. The first is asking friends, and if you have a Fortnite lore enthusiast in your friend group, it really helps. The second way are the fan-run wiki sites, which are constantly updated with the tiniest of details, but they lack the storytelling element. So that leads us to the third and final way, and it's on YouTube, the chapter compilations. I used to make these myself, and I still kinda do. Totally in isolation, I'd compile my understanding of the chapter and try to edit it as short as possible. Honestly, some of my favourite times as a YouTube creator was making those videos, and then I missed a few seasons, and I started to watch other people's videos, and to my surprise, all 4 of the recaps I watched told a slightly different story. We all see things differently, and that is the crux of storytelling through the fans. Nobody can ever be 100% certain. Back in the day, the mustard we called Donald told us the narrative was to be told like a campfire story, with players embellishing the bits they love and filling in the blanks as they go. But let's be totally honest, allowing players to make things up is basically saying the story is full of holes, which hurts my soul to say. So Epic Games, we need an official way to follow the story of Fortnite. We need a story mode, because it's getting harder and harder to tell what is real and what is a fan theory. Over the past 8 years, there have been a bunch of Fortnite comic books crossing over with both Marvel and DC. Now, be honest, have you read them? Maybe yes, maybe you watched a breakdown video. I made many of them over the years. Now imagine if those scenes were playable in Fortnite. To fight alongside Batman through the underground IO facilities, or fighting shoulder to shoulder with Spider-Man in the dinosaur-filled Savage Lands, or even making hot coffee with the Imagined while playing as Wolverine. Yep, that really did happen in the comic books, but let's not go there right now. And just as I'm making this video, OG Season 7 has returned again. The snow-covered map is back, and another part of the story came back with it, the Ice King and his frozen prisoner. Well, there's actually a lot of story here which is totally official, but it's not to be seen in the game. Again, it's in the Marvel Fortnite comic books. In that series, we learnt that the Ice King collects objects of power that could harm the Omniverse. He's technically a good guy and wants to protect life, yet his former friend wanted to use those objects for his own ends. So the Ice King froze his mate in lunar ice. Imagine playing through all that in-game alongside your friends. How amazing would that be? Yet let's be honest, the real reason why OG Season 7 is back now is because it's a Christmas-themed season. And speaking of Christmas, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, Crystal of Atlan, the free-to-play Magicpunk MMO action RPG. We choose from 21 character classes, each with their own weapon of choice and fighting style. I'm a Starbreaker main, by the way. The central gameplay loop is the super satisfying combat system with combos at its core, both on the ground and up in the air. And right now, the Christmas update has arrived in town, so start a snowball fight or claim daily rewards. And check out the new outfits the season brings, including the Snowfall Sprite. Everything has had a makeover, even the Corgi. Yep, it's a festive doggo now. And the Winter Sleigh mount allows another player to ride beside you. Outside of the safety of our homestead, invite friends to conquer dungeons together, or match up with others online to complete 4 and 8 player challenges. Crystal of Atlan is out right now on PlayStation 5, Steam, PC, and mobile. If you'd like to know more, click the link in the description. Where was I? Oh yeah, another reason why Fortnite needs a story mode. Let me ask you an easy question. How many members of the 7 are there? It's much harder than you'd think. As we all know, the basis of the 7 are 7 characters that came together to free the 0 point. Those are the Foundation, the Paradigm, the Imagined, the Order, the Origin, the Scientist, and it all started with the Visitor. That's 7 characters. But then who is this? It's another version of the Paradigm, and we still don't know if this is the same Paradigm as the one we met years earlier. And then it happened again. It's another version of the Visitor from another unknown reality. Does that mean there's 9 core members of the 7 now? We could go on with this and argue if the legend Jonesy is part of the group by now, or Amy, the scientist's autonomous AI, or Sven or Svenja, the 7's henchman, or even this woman, the Singularity, who was heavily suggested for years to be the Paradigm working as a double agent for IO. So identifying the 7 is a little more difficult than it should be. It's tough to keep up with for sure. So here's my solution. What if Fortnite gave us a Pokédex-like feature? An encyclopedia of all the things we've experienced and learned over the years. We kind of have it. Every time we meet a new NPC or a major event happens in-game, we could check on the details for ourselves, which can be quite difficult in-game as it's Battle Royale. People could shoot you at any moment. Alternatively, have you seen the solution in Persona? A velvet room is accessible and a compendium and dictionary are readable, from in-depth lore to really basic things, because I still know people who don't understand the concept of a snapshot. A Fortnite compendium would be a great place to see a character backstories and their history. I know it wouldn't be useful to everyone, yet I do think the characters that we already love would benefit from a backstory. We could even have their backstories playable, you know, in some form of Fortnite story mode maybe. How many people watching this played Save the World? Fortnite's only premium game mode. It's an action tower defense game at its core, with a story told in voice logs. It's also where the cube originates and where the Storm King was first introduced, before coming over to Battle Royale. Still to this day, at any time, I can replay that boss fight whenever I want to. And I want that ability in Fortnite Battle Royale to jump back into old live events again. Sometimes for nostalgia, but usually because I'm the guy who gets an error and gets booted back to the lobby. Imagine if every live event was replayable anytime. What would you play first? I'd go for the Collision event. It was amazing and totally ruined by my friend group. Thanks guys. Some events are absolutely packed with detail. It's impossible to see everything in one go. For example, I watched Homer Simpson during the Chapter 6 finale and it was so funny I made a short to show everybody else who missed it. In general, by making events replayable, it would serve as a reminder to current players, and more importantly than that, it would open up Fortnite's greatest hits to new players, making them more likely to stay with the game for longer. 8 years later, they can experience what we already have. And I gotta say, meeting Jonesy for the first time is something every Fortnite player should experience for themselves.
Wait. Can you hear me? Hear me?
As we all know, Fortnite is a social game. It can be played alone, but you're always up against other people, and Epic Games actively want players together and interacting. Yet, a long time ago, there was one occasion when a single player element was added, the Zero Crisis story event, with no PvP element in sight, and no other players in sight. Something we could experience without worrying about queuing up at the right time, or fighting to get to the front of a mosh pit of players. I loved this event. Going at my own pace, looking around at everything without being pushed or dragged through by the rest of the player base. A Fortnite story mode could turn all events into single player missions, sneaking aboard the Death Star without randoms ruining your playthrough. At present, only those with a creator code can experience things alone or with just their friends. Everyone else has to hope they don't get gamers who try to ruin things, or in the old days, build randomly everywhere. On top of that, a story mode would also get rid of the worst thing in Fortnite, the weekly quests or the story quests. Being attacked while you're trying to listen to a voice log or interact with a story NPC is the most frustrating part of loving the Fortnite storyline. And the devs can't win here. Putting discoverable lore into a 100-player battle royale was always going to be impossible. So why not make some of these things a single player experience? Let's pretend Epic Games agrees and starts creating a story mode. Alongside old events, what would you add to it? For me, it has to be boss fights. Did you know that in almost every event we have ever attended, unloading countless magazines and raining bullets down on bosses, we don't actually do any damage to them? The exact same events happen whether we're shooting or just watching. By adding boss fights, the players would be responsible for taking down each of their foes. They can be as simple or as complex as the team wanted, and could even be stringed together to make a boss fight rush mode like Stellar Blade has. The only fights I remember that players really impacted were the times the Storm King rocked up, and alongside a squad, we chose bananas for some reason, we had to race the clock and the storm circle to take down the brute. It was great. Or you could sit in a skybase if you were laser beam. Then when he reappeared with Ariana Grande, we could challenge our friends to take out his weak points like an arcade shooter. Both, in my opinion, were good boss fights. Now let's apply that logic to other parts of the game. Remember the time we had to battle a time-traveling vampire? How much better would that have been if it was a curated cinematic action scene in which we team up with a high-stakes club and siege Cado Thorn's stronghold? We could all be armed with those big hammer things from that chapter. Amazing, right? Or what about the time we rescued Peely from the Society? In real life, it was just a loading screen added after weeks of build-up. But how great would it have been to actually go on a mission to rescue that banana? The possibilities for imaginative and challenging gameplay and boss fights in general from Fortnite history is absolutely endless. So, does Fortnite need a story mode? Let's recap. We've looked at how replaying events is a great way to relive the golden days of Fortnite, as well as how the lore and narrative can be made clearer to both longtime players and newcomers to the game. We've suggested that comic books could become missions in-game, bringing their panels to life, and we've talked about making cinematic missions with unique boss mechanics. But there's still one reason why Fortnite needs a story mode, and I think it's due to the slow decline in players in Battle Royale. Personally, I'm kinda over fighting 99 other players to be the last one standing. It doesn't hit for me anymore. It's totally cool if you don't feel the same way as me, by the way. But ultimately, gameplay genres have highs and lows, and right now, extraction shooters are the most loved. And my bet is GTA 6 roleplay servers will take over the world in 2027. With a Fortnite story mode, Epic Games could create missions in different gameplay genres, analysing the data to be ready for the next trend to stay one step ahead of their competition. I'd love to know your thoughts. Does Fortnite need a story mode? I'm Adam, you're awesome. I'll see you in 2026.